Good afternoon, everybody. So Maxime Bernier is tweeting, and a lot of the tweets yesterday and the day before, 25th, 26th, had to do with climate change. And apparently, Maxime Bernier said something controversial. Shocker. And the media is trying to make political hay out of this. So let's look at it. So this is Maxime Bernier on the 25th saying, quote, reality check. Why don't you give the whole picture? Like the fact that the planet is becoming greener thanks to increased CO2 in the atmosphere. This is an established fact that most people have never heard about because the media never mention it. And he's got a link to a NASA study that's talking about the greening of the planet, and you can check that out. Link to the tweet is in the description, not to the NASA report. I'm not going to go there. And here is National Newswatch tweeting out this is the tweet that Bernier was replying to. It says, quote, reality check. Maxime Bernier says CO2 isn't a pollutant. Climate scientists say he's wrong. And here is the article. Reality check. Maxime Bernier says CO2 isn't a pollutant. Climate scientists say he's wrong. And so down here is the quote, Maxime Bernier, a Quebec leader in the newly created People's Party of Canada, took issue with the term carbon dioxide in a tweet thread on Wednesday. And so this is the controversial tweet thread. It says Maxime Bernier, libs can only sell their carbon tax if they lie. Lie one, you'll get your money back. Lie two, it's a price on pollution. CO2 is not a pollutant, is not pollution. It's what comes out of your mouth when you breathe and what nourishes plants. And that's what he wrote. And we can debate, he says also, quote, we can debate the effects of too much CO2 in the atmosphere and climate. That doesn't make CO2 a form of pollution, he argued, but climate scientists disagree. And then here's what she said. Marna Simpson, a professor of environmental chemistry at the University of Toronto, said the fact that carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere are, quote, beyond natural levels and that these, quote, increases in concentration are fundamentally altering climate patterns justify calling CO2 a pollutant. Pollutants are everywhere in the environment, but it is concentration of the pollutant and not their presence that is more important, she explained. Okay, so again, this is playing with language. It's redefining what pollution is in order to fit the narrative that the liberals want you to believe. And this whole topic is really fraught with, like, it's difficult to report on because on one side of things, if you come down on Maxime Bernier's side, the whole beating drum of the media is you're wrong and we're right, and you know they're actually just saying that outright in the title here. It says climate scientists say he's wrong, and we can't prove it. So it's going to be just hearsay. It's going to be they're going to use this as their wedge issue in the 2018-19 election, and they're going to do it because they believe that whether or not they have the moral high ground or anything to that effect, there's no way to prove it conclusively. Not at all. So they can sling mud about climate change all they want, not offending racists, not offending, not calling people racists, and thereby alienating a whole blocks of voters, just like they did with white people for the first 2 years of the Trudeau administration. Until they realized that they were alienating literally everybody. But that's neither here nor there. With climate change, they have a bunch of people and the masses who still believe the political spin on this, despite the fact that the HADCRUT4 data has obvious flaws, despite the fact that the IPCC has been caught altering data in order to favor cooler temperatures in the distant past to make it look like more warming is taking place now. I have a whole video on it if you're interested. Link is in the description. But there's a lot of questions surrounding this, and it's not going to be proven before the 2019 election. We're not going to have a conclusive, if you pay this much money in taxes, we will save the planet, or even curtail Canada's emissions, because the BC climate carbon tax hasn't reduced emissions. BC's increased. So this policy doesn't make any sense. The fact that CO2 is not pollution is a fact. Now, having whether or not CO2 increases the temperature, again, remains to be seen, right? A lot of people say it does. A lot of people say it doesn't. So the real issue is not about climate change here. The issue is they're going to use this a lot to slam Bernier, because any thinking person knows that it's improvable. Like it's something that can be said with impunity because they will not face consequences, right? Here's Maxime Bernier again on the 26th, responding to a troll. The troll said, quote, scientists say water is good. How can these floods be bad? How can these floods be bad then? Because they're just water, which things need to grow and live. Maxime logic. And Maxime says, water can bring floods and drowning. We must stop saying it's essential for life and instead call it a dangerous, toxic substance that can kill people. Also, ask Liberal government to rename flood prevention programs toxic substance overflow prevention programs. Troll logic. And yeah, like people are going to hit him on this. They're trying to show grassroots. People are hitting him. And I think it's funny when he responds. Here's another one from the 26th as well at 9 in the morning. He says, quote, all these trolls telling me I don't understand science, and yet many don't seem to know what photosynthesis is. Confuse carbon dioxide with carbon monoxide from car exhaust and think they teach me something about by repeating basic stuff about the greenhouse effect. Hilarious. So Maxime's taking it all in stride. I hope he can walk the tightrope on this the way he walked the tightrope on being called, a nationalist and a populist and all that other stuff. He embraced it in a really kind of smooth way and turned it to his advantage. He seems to be doing that with the climate change stuff. But like I said, this is a very fraught political debate. And there are a lot of people on both sides who firmly believe their position. And no amount of facts to the contrary or to the other side is going to change their position. So this is a perfect wedge issue because you're going to have Maxime Bernier whose position is very, very different than Justin Trudeau's and frankly even Andrew Scheer's. So yeah, we're going to see how this plays out. But that's what I think. I think they found their wedge issue and I think they're going to push it hard. And I think they think it's going to be a like punching somebody in the dark, victimless crime, right? Anyway, check out Maxime Bernier at thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca. And thanks for watching. Have a great afternoon.